Hello and welcome to a look at Secret of the Monkey Island for the Amiga, a game that was made by Lucasfilm Games and released by US Gold. Lucasfilm Games, of course, later renamed to the more digestible LucasArts. The plot of this game is that you take on the role of a dashing young man named Guybrush Threepwood, who has this ambition to become a pirate for some reason. Wanting to become a pirate is not good enough, of course, because there wouldn't be much game if it was. So, Guybrush has to speak to three important-looking pirates in the scum bar in order to get the three trials that will help him qualify as a pirate. The three trials he's given is mastering the sword, the art of thievery, and of course the all-important art of finding treasures. What is a pirate without a treasure? A real pirate, because historically pirates never buried their treasures. It was only in a certain book called Treasure Island that became a thing that people used to think was real. Pirates did not bury their treasures. Never mind, it was just some random pointless trivia. Now, solving the three trials requires that Guybrush runs around and interacts with various different items and objects and people, talking to them, doing favors for them, and that kind of stuff. And it doesn't really matter in which order you do the three trials, but all of them have to be completed, obviously, because that was sort of the quest given. Mastering the sword means meeting the swordmaster and defeating her in not mortal combat, but of course it turns out that the swordmaster is quite reclusive and is not interested in having random wannabe pirates coming and knocking on her door and trying to defeat her in non-mortal combat. So having to locate her is first a challenge, and of course getting access to a sword is yet another challenge, and the different trials each have various different substages that you have to work your way around and puzzle out and that kind of stuff. I should probably mention that this game is a point-and-click adventure, but I think that should be fairly obvious based on the video. Let's cover the technical side of things. From a graphical point of view, it is relatively easy to see that this game was originally a PC game that was converted to the Amiga. And as such, the Amiga's graphics is based around the PC original, of course. I'm not unhappy with how the graphics looks, but I've always felt that more could have perhaps been done out of the graphics for the Amiga version. The graphics has a certain tone and style that suits the game incredibly well and supports the story and setting and scenario and whatever else you might call it. So I can't be unhappy with the graphics, and at the time of release for this game it is likely that it was perceived to be better looking than I see it these days, and I'm comparing it to Amiga games, not modern gaming. That's completely pointless. Sound effects wise, as was the case for many point-and-click adventures, The sound effects support the game, and nothing really stands out as being particularly memorable or noticeable. Nothing stands out as being particularly annoying or agitating. So, yeah, sound effects, they are mainly very important, of course, in action games and fighting games, that kind of stuff, but as long as they're not intolerable, they are acceptable, I suppose, and they work. They do what they need to do. The Amiga music was done by Chris Hulsbeck and another guy, which unfortunately I've forgotten the name of, which is a bit embarrassing because his name is listed in the credits from Rainbow Arts. And the music is definitely iconic and easily recognizable. You don't need to hear many notes to identify which game it belongs to. Maybe not the cleanest, maybe not the funkiest, maybe not the best music ever devised for the Amiga, but it suits the game, and again, it supports the game, and that is what it needs to do. And as such, it is very, very hard to complain about it. Being a point and click adventure game, of course, this game is mouse controlled and keyboard controlled to a certain point. You left click to move around, and then you right click to use your default interaction. You have a bunch of verbs at the bottom of the screen that you can make use of. Open, close, pull, push, whatever else there might be. And when you left click on a location or person or whatever, you will default to walking to that person location. And then when you right click it, you will do what the game deems to be the most natural thing to do. For items, it will default to look at, and for NPCs, it will default to talking to them. If you right click a closed door, it will open the door. If you right click an open door, it will close the door, and that kind of stuff. It is sort of context sensitive, but not to the extreme that later games became, where they basically work out what exactly you are expected to want to do with everything that you right click or left click on, whatever the case may be. It works perfectly fine. There is no controlled interaction that is in any way, shape or form odd or out of place, and as a point and click adventure, it is what you want it to be, and it works fine. The different characters that you meet and interact with are interesting in their own way. They are what they are claimed to be. When you open the tin of random NPC number 1, you get exactly what's on the tin. In some cases, absolutely pushed to the maximum possible level. So a rowdy pirate will be a very, very rowdy pirate, and an overzealous salesman will be a very, very overzealous salesman. But within the confines of the game and the settings of the game and the storytelling of the game, they work, and they work perfectly fine. Most of them are quite memorable, and that is due to excellent writing, which I will get to momentarily. The main character is a young whippersnapper of an individual who may not have seen as much in life or of life as a more senior citizen would have, and his response to things even can be a bit, I wouldn't dare say immature, but more for someone with a fresh, unspoiled mind, if I can use such a phrasing. I just did, so I must be able to. The characters in general, I like 99% of them. When it comes to the puzzles and the challenge of the puzzles in this game, it is an individual thing, because it's none of the puzzles are necessarily particularly complicated, but it's more a question of, did you consider that option to be available? In order to do one of the trials, which is to fight the Sword Master, we need to be able to meet her first. And you can't just access her, because there's a path leading to her location, but without guidance you will get completely and utterly lost. So in order to actually locate her, you have to speak to the shopkeeper, ask him to go and speak to her on your behalf, and then follow him. So if you don't consider the option of following him to her location, then it will be a very, very challenging aspect of the game. But if you do consider that him walking all the way, which is quite clearly hinted in his comment, and following him, then it is a simple puzzle to solve. So it's going to be down to the individual. I can't remember the game 100%, so I can't guarantee that there's no puzzles which are not 100% logical, but memory serving, I would say that the majority, the vast majority of the puzzles are definitely logical. It is a more question of, as I was saying before, did you consider that option? While far from being the first point-and-click adventure ever made, LucasArts themselves had released, I think, about a handful of point-and-click adventures before this one. The Secret of the Monkey Island quickly became the benchmark for what you would hope for and expect from a point-and-click adventure. And that is in no small way due to the excellent writing of this game. The setting is a very, very light-hearted setting. You do have a hero and you do have a bad guy who's absolutely most assuredly a bad guy, but the interaction between the main character and the bad guy is humorous and funny, funky. The level of humor in this game is actually quite extensive, and due to the cleverness of the humor, it works. You can have experiences which are so fun they are not fun anymore, because the fun becomes boring, because you are getting showered with jokes and slapstick moments and all that kind of stuff, so it starts becoming old. But despite that fact, and despite the fact that just about every interaction, both with items and NPCs, has a potential for a humorous outcome, the game can support it. And yeah, due to the writing. The writing is incredibly clever, and even though the game doesn't take itself particularly seriously, and there is some fourth wall breaking going on from time to time, it stands out, and I would believe that most people will remember it because of the wacky, funky and creative humor. And yeah, there's no question about the experience you'll get if you play this game is one of enjoyable and very, very tongue-in-cheek kind of light-hearted experience. While the Amiga version is entirely playable and very, very enjoyable, for more modern gamers, if they are not aware of it, there is a remaster of the PC version of Secret of the Monkey Island available on Steam, and while I would not necessarily promote a PC game on or in an Amiga video, for those who may not have experienced The Secret of the Monkey Island, the remaster, it doesn't cost very much and it's got the voice acting done. The graphical updates are not necessarily to my liking, but it is by and large an absolutely excellent remaster. And if you have any interest in playing this game, either play the Amiga version or the original PC version, or splash out a few pennies and get the remaster of Secret of the Monkey Island. The experience, if you are unfamiliar with it, is most assuredly worth it. And on that note, I can say thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.